It's not this, I have to say I'm sorry to you and you have to say I'm sorry to me and we have to work this thing out, because that's not the case a lot of times. We can do forgiveness without even having the person there.
Brenda, I'm so glad to see you, radiant as ever.
I was thinking the same about you, Miss Sheila.
Thank you. Well, I'm delighted to have you here, and I will preface this by saying Crazy Beautiful Truth is very much about conversations that lead us to loving ourselves back to life. And one of the things that I know in my work, in my life as a human myself, that can interfere with our connection to the best of ourselves, our vitality, our willingness to be brave and courageous and joyful and creative, is resentment, feeling victimy, lack of forgiveness of self or other when we drift into those places,
Yes.
which leads me to none other than you. Let me tap into your bio. So Brenda is a dedicated forgiveness and grief coach and a speaker, I'm going to add, and a podcast host in your own right.
Yes.
And you are very gifted at helping individuals and organizations, allied communities, probably in that space, anywhere people gather, to navigate emotional healing and transformation. And that you bring your expertise in guiding clients through loss, regret, self-reconciliation. You empower others to embrace forgiveness as a path to peace and personal growth so that we can all foster healthier relationships, build resilience, and unlock potential. And I want to just pause for a second and let that in, because this is not just what you do, it's who you are. Right. It's one of the ways that I have experienced you whenever you and I have had the good fortune of crossing paths. And you carry this grace with you that feels steeped in wisdom. Tell me what led you here.
Yes, what led me here was a lot of wrong turns.
As happens.
You know, the funny thing is I didn't even know, I wasn't even necessarily looking or needing forgiveness. It found me, as the universe so lovingly does. You know, when we don't think we need something and boom, we get something that we need. Right? So, it was really after my third divorce where I was struggling with letting that go, letting the attachment go. The codependence that I had had in my whole life that had been a pattern, which I didn't know at that time, right? This is reflection back.
Right.
But that codependent tendencies and the ability to wanting to save people please, all of these things was really stopping me from moving forward. And I knew what I realized was I went, this is my third. I had some shame around it at the time, and I'm like, okay, wait a second. The common denominator is me.
Right. Surprise.
I mean, this is that moment of awareness that,
Yes.
that light bulb, kind of the angels sang and kind of went, now she's getting it. And it was like, but what do I do about that? So that's when I went, okay, I don't know. But you know what? Universe, God, spirit, somebody, help me. And that's all it took. It opened up this beautiful awareness of, like we talked about before we hit record, was, it's interesting when we get in alignment with what we're meant to do or on the path, or when we kind of move out of our own way, is what I say. Because I was trying to make this relationship work when it was really not. It was done. It served its purpose. It was complete. And I just kept hanging on for my own sake. And that's another thing that people don't realize, is it's not really about the other person. This is what I'm learning. It's about me. And so that led me on a journey of self-discovery and doing all sorts of different, checking out modalities and personality type. Who am I? For the first time in my life, in my late 40s, I'm like, who am I? Without external validation, without somebody telling me who I am. And this is discovery, right? I didn't know. And it led me to a couple years of just not dating, not doing anything, just going inside, learning. It was not easy inside.
So how would you describe that process? What was that like for you? Was it like full of illumination every day? Sometimes people think, I'm going to go heal and it's going to be joyful and butterflies and sunshine and rainbows. Nothing but unicorns here.
You know the term bathroom floor moments?
Yo, I do.
That's what it is full of, is
Yep.
bathroom floor moments. And I think most of your listeners will probably relate to that. It was a constant state of what I call surrender. It was hitting my knees because I couldn't do it. It was like, are you kidding me? Is this gonna end? It really another? But then it also had the I'm gonna say the high of revelation too, right? There's a high of revelation. It is like, oh, like that, like, oh my God, I'm the common denominator. Boom, and it's like, oh, now we dive into it. Right.
Yeah.
So now we have this high of revelation, and then we go into the, ooh, what does that mean for me? How does that feel in my body? My body's changing. My body's shifting. It's an energetic along with physical shift and thinking too. Because at that time, also, I think people can relate. I was a lot in my head because I had learned that it was not safe to be in the body. So I was trying to figure stuff out, but I didn't know. I didn't know. You don't know until you know.
We don't know until we
And
know.
no, learning to give myself compassion for that has been probably one of the biggest gifts I've given myself.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and if we can do that, just be a little kinder to ourselves, that's what brings in that compassion. Because where did we get this idea that we need to know it all? Where did we get this idea, right?
Brenda, facts. That's so true. We did this idea that it's not safe not to know. It's certainly not safe to look like we don't know.
Definitely.
And it's certainly not safe for us to presume to speak to anybody else with any kind of wisdom or experience as if we knew.
Yeah.
And I think that whole performance piece. So what I hear and what I know from my own journey personally is that high of revelation was the fuel that I had to burn. I had to let that be fuel to keep me brave, to keep me in it. Because I remember for me, those bathroom floor moments for me were more often kitchen floor moments,
Yes.
just coincidentally.
Yep.
And finding the compassion for myself on the floor in a puddle of goo, going, okay, just stand back up. Just stand back up. And then I'd have the insight that I could. Oh, I can stand back up. Sometimes it was that small.
Yeah.
Did you find the same thing? Or because the high of revelation can be giant and it can be very, very small.
Very small. Yeah. Oh yeah. It's not the big stuff. It's those quiet in that moment on the floor of, I'm going to be okay. It's just, it's the pause in the breath, right? It's the pause in between. It's the pause in between the words, or the pause in between, that feeling of all we need is just that teeny, teeny space where we can go, that's it. And that's a lot of what I had, was like, oh, I mean, I remember I had a big one, and I had that moment of when I just didn't think I was going to make it. The emotional pain was so gut-wrenching deep that I just didn't want to go on. It was like that. And I remember having that. This was a living room floor moment of
Right.
gut-wrenching, bent over, just grasping, just crying, and I took an in-breath, and that's when I felt it. I just felt this calmness, and I heard, it's going to be okay.
Going to be okay.
It's going to be okay. And it was just a split second, and it was like, oh, I believed it. I allowed myself to believe it just for that split second, because that's what you talked about. That's what helped me get back up. And I clung to that, because we do need to cling to something.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We do need something. And that was when it's like, okay, I can do this. I don't know what it is that I can do, but I can do this.
Yeah, it's so true. It's funny. I haven't spoken this yet, but this is part of this naming what crazy, beautiful truth is. In those darkest moments for me, whether that's hopelessness or despair or anxiety or, the flavors that were mine.
Yes.
The thing that gave me comfort was knowing there is some crazy, beautiful truth at play. This is just a moment. This is a moment inside of this greater, crazy, beautiful truth that is mine to own. and to find my moment and then have another one. That's the only task, right? Have this moment, then the next one. And what if that's the way, right? When we're really stuck. And so when you moved from that moment, those places,
Yes.
into forgiveness work, did you start with self-forgiveness or did you start with forgiveness of other?
Oh, forgiveness of others. Definitely. I tried this self-forgiveness and it was not happening. Only because I was holding so much blame and shame outside of me. I still was in the what I term, and I'm trying to find a more loving way to say it, but victim. So I was in this energy of things were happening to me. And so there wasn't really room for self-forgiveness, even though I felt bad about myself. I had shame, I had guilt, I had all of that because in this mix was how I felt about myself, right? How could I be a person that got divorced 3 times? Why didn't I get this figured out? Right? Then all of the stuff that I did, because at that time I was sober, but I had been drinking and, for quite a while. And so it's like, oh, I caused these things. So I was taking on stuff. So I had these feelings of shame, guilt, regret, along with it's his fault. It's their fault. It's my mom's fault. If I had only been this, if I had only done that, but it was outside of me. And which I have learned is a really good place to start because jumping into self-forgiveness, as I've learned, is like it's like having the judge, the jury, the victim, the defendant, all of the witnesses in your head wanting to be heard at the same time. So you don't know who's forgiving whom.
That is so well named. That is so well named. And it gives me a picture of those moments where I know for both for me and also in my work, now that I'm doing more trauma informed coaching, right? And I'm doing trauma informed coaching in organizations. There's so much trauma in our systems post COVID,
Yes.
I find, and probably was always there. That just gave us permission to look at it. But that one of the first things to go when we feel in that victim place is actually self-trust.
Yes. Yes.
But we can't look at that. And I had never thought about it that way, but I hear all these voices, all this static and noise at the same time. And so I'm aware, I'm like, okay, vaguely through the static, I can hear there's something about my self-trust. I don't think I'm trustworthy and that needs my attention. But darn it, there's a bunch of other things splashing around out here that feel threatening, feel like sharks in the water. I'll get to that. That's really good naming. Thank you for that.
Well, and
so
they're
what do you do with that?
louder. They're
Right.
louder, right? Because
Yes.
we have kind of conditioned ourselves to listen to the louder,
Yes, we have.
not the quieter. It was those quieter sounds, voices that calmed me down.
Yeah.
It wasn't the loud ones,
Right.
right?
Yep.
And so learning to tap into that quieter voice. Some people will call it an observer or however we term it, higher self, whatever we want to call it, has been a game changer for me because I didn't know there was a difference until I knew there was a difference, until I heard it.
Right.
I felt.
Yeah. So I get a picture in my mind of needing to run the gauntlet of others almost as a practice, as an initiation. I'm feeling that actually as a portal back to self, to move out
Yes.
to
Well,
forgiveness of others.
absolutely. When we start outside of ourselves, what really the reason why we're doing this, and this is something that I really believe in and I teach, and it has been pretty life-changing for people. And I'm going to say that because it shifts your perception.
Yes.
When you can look at your relationships with people as reflections or mirrors, right? So this mirror concept I grasped onto when I found the radical forgiveness work. It was like, my Lord, how did I not see this before? Because now it's a hard one. It's not an easy one. But when you're ready, when you're open to maybe looking at something a little differently,
Yes.
it can really shift how you see yourself and how you see others. And I believe that if we could do this on a grander scale, If each person could do this, it would change how we react or respond to each other and to circumstances and to things. So looking at ourselves as that, so that's why I start outside of us. It's like, because we
Yes,
always
makes
have
sense.
someone who irritates us,
Darn
right?
it, you too. Okay.
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's like, yeah, just one. I'm a work in progress, right? As we all are. But
Yes.
when we take that and we do the work on why, what is the story around it? And we tell the story when we go into the forgiveness work. We're going into this, like with me, I tell my clients, you're going to tell me the story that you've had swirling in your head and you've said so many thousands of times, but you're going to tell me this story the same way for the last time.
Potent.
Yes, because it's going to, if you're willing, just willing, that's all you got to be, it can shift.
Yeah. So can I back up for a second? Because there's something, before we even get to the forgiveness work, there are times where I'm just not interested in forgiving. There have been moments in my life as women, we might have our own story. I've got my own Me Too story, right?
Yes.
And there are these moments, these places where I'm not interested.
Mm-hmm.
Why would I bother with forgiveness? And why would that be of service to me? How do you speak into that space?
Yeah. So why would I bother? So it depends. There's some people that can go forward from say the Me Too story, whatever that is for them, and the betrayal or the different abuse, all of these things that we carry, because we all have the story. And so if it's hanging on me, is what I say. If it's weighing heavy on me, then it would be worth checking into that. So forgiveness for me is not just about saying I'm sorry or needing to hear somebody else say I'm sorry. Forgiveness is, to me, is creating an environment of acceptance and allowance so that I can live the life I want to live. So that's what forgiveness is to me. Forgiveness isn't necessarily about the past, but I do need to visit it to see what I can learn from it. It's about how can I be present today? How can I be present moving forward with who I am? How can I be in acceptance? If I am a little bit angry or frustrated, or if I know I'm holding myself and I'm leaning backwards, right? If I'm holding myself back, that gives me information, Sheila. That's information. So this story, this thing, the way that I can tell that I might want to lean into forgiveness is that it's not for them, it's for me.
It's not for them, it's for
Not
me.
for them. They're done. They're gone. They're doing whatever. It's done for them. But I'm the one that's carrying the heavy backpack. So if I feel like if I hear the name of a person and it makes me go, right? Or
Right.
if I think, or the thoughts are just ruminating, or I'm afraid to get into another relationship, or I'm afraid to move forward in my business. I don't know who I am. There's some shame around charging more or just being in public. That might have something to do with our story. And so, therefore, maybe I might want to lean in. Now, there are some people who said, no, I'm good. Brenda, I don't need forgiveness. I'm good. It's like, okay, then that's fine. It's all individual.
Right.
So, but very few people do that. They think this is the other thing, because I thought I was all good, right, with the forgiveness stuff
Yeah.
until I started having some body ailments. I started to have more depression. I started to feel like I was shrinking and I wanted to isolate. And it was like, what is that about? There wasn't really anything physically wrong. What was the emotional response to that? So that's where the forgiveness work helped me to go. There are these, what I call little dust bunnies hiding in the corners. And neuroscience is proving that today.
Yes.
You know, that's the beauty. I love this, that they are proving this today. And they're making more of connections between dis-ease in the body and the emotional energy that we carry. And so to me, it's worth it if I'm feeling any of those things that I talked about or you, like when we're feeling these things, I get to remind myself that it is not about the other person at all. And I'm repeating this for a reason, because we can go, yeah, yeah, yeah. But there's a part of us that doesn't believe it. I think they need to pay, they owe me, they need to pay for this. It's their fault. And we carry that.
Yeah.
And so it's like, yes, and. It's a yes, and. Yes, and. You may not have, you didn't ask for that. This happened to you. But what are you going to do with it now? It's yours right here.
Yes. Dr. Gabor Mate, do you know his work? Oh, love him so much. He's just such a fine thinker. I really appreciate the way he talks about trauma. And he talks about, and I know you know this, but for our listeners, the trauma isn't the traumatic event. It's not the thing that happened. It's not the slight. It's not the abuse. The trauma is what we do with it after the fact, what happens inside of us as a result of it.
Yeah.
And there's something about this that really resonated for me. And so anytime that I have been hooked by resentment, for example, and I actually feel like my resentment, I'm keeping it because it's punishing you. And I haven't seen you in 9 years, but I'm going to sit over here and I'm going to resent you and punish you in my imagination at every red light. And it's just not true. But there was a reason that resentment for me began to, and this was one of my illuminating moments. Thankfully isn't a place I've stayed for very long, I feel like, in my life, but is one of the places that got my attention because it was new energy. I'm like, oh, wow, I'm really holding on to something now in a new way. They said that thing one time. I've said that to myself in their voice now 912 times.
Yeah.
Over and over and over again. And so for me, that was a cue and was one of the places actually that led me to the book, Radical Forgiveness, which I read, sometimes with delight and sometimes wanting to throw it across the room.
Absolutely.
Yeah. There's a level of accountability that requires a level of willingness and courage that I was mostly ready for, and sometimes not, it depended on the day. So I appreciate that you're speaking to, it's dependent on the individual, and it might also be dependent on times in our lives. We might be ready, we might be not. For me, it was admitting this resentment seems to just be affecting me. So maybe letting that go. So when you're in that place, if we're thinking about the listener who's dealing with, say, resentment, just to pick one so we can get really specific about it. And we can pick whether it's a parent or a sibling or something that happened at work. We're dealing with resentments. It's in our system. We're ruminating on it. We're punishing people. Well, if only I'd said this, right?
Oh, yes.
All the ways our fabulous imagination tries to take care of us.
Yes.
Where do you begin? Where does one begin?
Well, recognizing it is a really good place. I heard somebody talk about awareness is 90% of the problem of the what's the word that I
The
want?
solution?
Of the solution. Thank
Yes.
you. Yeah, it's 90% of the solution. And then you just have the 10%, right? I mean, it makes sense to me because like you just said, a great example that, they said it once, I said it 912 times and more.
Right.
Right? Because I'm feeling it, I'm thinking it, I'm experiencing it, and it doesn't just stay in there. It really leaks out everywhere.
Yes.
When I heard that statement, how we do anything is how we do everything, when I learned that years ago and I didn't get it at first, I'm like, this is a good example. Because resentment, when we're holding it, the resentment leaks out. Right? It stops me from showing up. If I'm resentful of an ex, as we'll say, like they're going on living a happy life because that's what it looks like. And I'm suffering. They're not, right? They're doing their thing, but I don't know what's going on with them and I can't really control that. I got to bring it back to here. So to start is to be aware. The second thing is, I think when we
Can I check back in on that? Be aware of what? How do we recognize the thing that we're aware of?
Yeah, the resentment.
So it can be the resentment or something getting stuck in the system, the washing
Something
machine.
getting stuck in the system. So, for instance, if you are angry every time or sad or grieving, right? If you, whatever big emotion, because emotions are just information.
Yes.
Until we hold on to them and keep them going, then they become our story, right? But then it's like, no, if I can take this information, so about the ex, say, right? So he betrayed me. I'm the victim and it's his fault. So I can't move forward. I can't date. I can't do that because somebody's going to betray me again. See, it's that same story. When I know that I'm holding on to these things, that's the awareness. Like you got
Right.
to this point where you have the awareness. So that's the be aware. So just pay attention to where in your story, in your life, that you are feeling, because we all have it. We know we're uncomfortable somewhere. We know that we're not asking for a raise. We know that we're not going and exercising. We know that we're stuffing food in our mouth for a reason because, I went through all of these. That's why I can share them.
Yes.
And so there's a reason that's happening. Become aware of that. That's a first. And once we do that, then understanding what it's doing to us and just take a look and go and do some writing. I'm big on journaling. I'm big on writing because that one, it gets us out of our body, but two, it makes this physical connection between our emotions and our intellect so that we can make that connection. And so what we're doing is with intent. We are this intentional, meaning I am going to write this down for a healing process and write out where else has this happened? Who does this happen with? Because it's usually not just one person.
So true.
Now it can look different, right? It doesn't have to be the exact same thing. But where else has a friend not shown up for me? Where else has a boss chosen somebody else over me? Where did I not get that raise or that promotion? Where, because all these are little things, those little dust bunnies that build up, right? We write them off and we kind of go, well, okay, it just wasn't my time. But there's a part of us that's like, no. So we're stuffing these things down.
Yes. So connecting it to noticing, I feel like what you're describing is a dot to dot, and you're
Dot to
figuring out
dot,
what the
connecting
picture
the
is.
dots. Yep.
Right.
Yep. We're doing a dot to dot picture so that we can kind of go, and this is for ourselves, right? And this is where we can look at, we're connecting the dots and we're looking at, oh, wait a minute, this is like a little pattern here. How far back does this go? Where else has this happened? And it's this beautiful awareness that it's not just this one thing. Now, the trick is to not beat ourselves up over this. I know. Yeah. Yeah. That's where, when we do the work, having like a trusted friend or therapist or coach or something is really good to remind us that you're not a bad person. This was supposed to happen. We were supposed to learn some of these things. Now, they're not fun, but who said life was supposed to be all butterfly, like you said earlier, butterflies and roses? And why do we think that? I don't know.
Yeah,
There are pockets of that. We have those times.
we do.
But, doing this learning piece is, not all butterflies and roses.
So it requires courage, it requires
Definite.
support, I hear. It
Yes.
requires willingness.
Willingness.
Yeah, and bringing the will. And it strikes me too, bringing enough grace or compassion, which you've already mentioned, that if I'm writing, and it really gets to be out, we get to take a break.
Well, absolutely.
It's not all figured out in one 19-hour journal session.
Absolutely not.
Right. And
No,
we
no.
collect the
In
dots.
fact, this is a process. This is what I remind people. Forgiveness is a process. It's not a one-time event. It's not. Forgiveness is like exercise. I can't go to the gym and work out and think, okay, now I can go, lift 250 pounds or run a marathon. I got to practice. And forgiveness is not something that we're taught. Well, we're taught, some people are taught through a religious way or a certain way or a family way or community way. But does that really resonate for you? Is that really mine? It's like, oh, no, wait, because I've had different people tell me, well, no, I couldn't even listen to the word forgiveness because of the way that it was taught to them. Like, I
Yes.
just have to let people walk over me and I have to be a doormat and because that's the way they learned it. And it's like, oh,
Turn the
heavens,
other
no.
cheek.
Turn the other cheek. And it's like, well, there could be a different meaning for that somebody else didn't really explore. And
true.
so being able to identify kind of what we're resentful at and where that goes and where kind of it came from gives our intellect, our brain, something like, oh, it connects it. So then that's not just a one-time event, it's a pattern. Oh, well, we can clear that. We can do work on that. And then now we're moving from the head to the heart. We're unison, right? We're working together. We can't be in, a lot of us are, some people are in their heart, some people in their head. And it's, yeah. And I spent, most of my life like that. And I pop in there. I notice, but I notice now
Yes. Me
when
too.
I'm going more intellectual than kind of using all of my system.
Yes. And I think of it as all of my intelligences, head,
There you
heart,
go.
gut.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
There are multiple intelligences available to us.
There
And
is.
what if we put them all to work for us, in
Yes.
this forgiveness? So if I've done the work and I'm noticing patterns, what happens as I do that journaling, which strikes me, the word that comes up is acknowledgement, like actually acknowledging, just meeting it, just stand, just look at it. It's not going to bite. It's not, might feel uncomfortable, but just acknowledge it. Okay. Now I can see there is a map. The dot to dot is starting to look like a zebra. I see a
Yes.
thing.
Right. Oh, there's a picture.
That's right. What brings me, or am I jumping the gun, to forgiveness of your ex, as you're using the example, or my ex,
Yeah.
or, the boss, whatever the thing
Or
is,
the parents.
or
Yeah.
the parent,
A
whatever.
lot of it is the parents too. I get a lot with the parents because, they had a role to play for us in my belief, right? The parents had a role to play.
Yes.
And so, but first, after awareness, we've got to be able, like you said, accountability and what I call responsibility. That has to come before forgiveness. So taking responsibility for not necessarily what happened to me, but taking responsibility for that it did happen and what can I do about it now? This is a huge responsibility to acknowledge that it did happen to me and what I've been doing with it, that I've been holding myself back, that I have not been in relationship, that I haven't gone for that promotion, that I have been drinking too much and eating too much and right? And
Yes.
I haven't been willing to maybe do the work that I know I really want to, but something's holding me back. Well, this is it. Awareness will bring that forward. The next step is taking responsibility for what can I do now?
That's so liberating, Brenda. That is so liberating. It's not taking responsibility for, go back and figure out what was mine and what was theirs and deconstruct
No.
it all. And well, if only I had not walked down that dark alley, or if only I had finished that report on time, or if only I had whatever the thing is. It's taking responsibility for what I do now.
Now.
So I hear now going forward. Okay, right this
Yeah.
minute. Okay.
Once we can do that, and that takes a little bit too, right? Because that's
Yes.
partly where I get to look at my story and I get to separate the fact from the interpretation, right? That's this part of it. This part is kind of looking, well, this happened. What did I make up about it? Okay. And once we can do that, then we can get to the point of being willing to accept ourselves as we are. Because self-acceptance, as I've learned, I got to do before I got to forgiveness, not after. When I can say, this happened kind of for me, I'm going to put it that way, right? When we can look at something and really grasp, what have I learned from it? Where have I grown? How am I helping people today because of this story or these things that have happened to me? Or who am I? Am I more compassionate? Am I filled with more grace? Am I angry? Who am I today because of these things? Okay.
Great
So
question.
that's the story. That's that's the suffering.
Yes.
Once I can get to that, then I can get to the acceptance of I'm not so bad. Look at the good things that I've done. Look at the people that I've helped, even if it's smiling at strangers. Even if it's always being hi, like the Walmart greeter.
Yes.
It makes you feel good when somebody smiles and waves at you. Like that. If I can be in acceptance of all of my so-called flaws and all of my mistakes, or at least if I'm willing to at least do one of them, just one, start with one. If I'm willing to admit that I'm overeating because I'm stressed emotionally, okay, that's why I gained 25, 30, 40 pounds. Okay, it's nobody else. It's me. If I'm willing to accept that, now I can do something with it. Now I can forgive myself or forgive the other person and go, you know what? Maybe they didn't necessarily know what they were doing. Maybe I didn't know what I was doing. Maybe I didn't have enough information or whatever the thing is. But you know what? Now I can move forward with forgiveness and acceptance so that I am now willing to do all the things we just talked about. But now I have resilience.
Now we have resilience.
Now we have resilience, because if I can connect the dots there, if I can take responsibility, if I can then accept myself and then forgive, I can do it again, like the bathroom floor, living room floor, kitchen floor moment.
Right.
I can do this again.
So let me check in on point of clarification, because what I hear you describing is something that I know in my experience, but it feels worth teasing apart.
Yes.
This idea, you're talking about forgiveness and self-acceptance almost synonymously, is what I hear. And many of us grew up with this story, as you've already pointed to, that forgiveness is an act. There is a moment at which forgiveness didn't exist, and then it does. We tip over into a thing. What I hear you describing that is aligned with my personal experience is that when I have worked through this kind of a process, I had my own, I had ways before reading Radical Forgiveness. I had a modified way after that. And then through my own healing work, all the things. Mm-hmm. That once I got to acceptance, there is a level of peace that came with that gave me access to resilience, that made me realize, wait, forgiveness happened somewhere along the way and I missed it. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, wait. I'm speaking about this story again, and I'm speaking it with anger in my tone, but there's no juice behind it. The story doesn't pull the same chords and strings that it used to. And then I'm wondering, wait, when did that happen and how? Is that accurate? Is that a good naming?
Oh, yeah.
What would
Yeah,
you
that's
say?
a beautiful way to describe it. And do you really need to know how it happened?
No.
Do you need to know when?
Good point.
You know what I see, that's the beauty of forgiveness. Yes. That's what I'm really wanting people to grasp, is like, it's not this, I have to say I'm sorry to you and you have to say I'm sorry to me and we have to work this thing out, because that's not the case a lot of times. We can do forgiveness without even having the person there. But when you're willing to do this acceptance work, right, which you did, it does come almost naturally.
Yeah.
It's not, we can focus on forgiveness, but let's wait a minute. Let's really accept ourselves. Let's really accept who we are and what we're going to do with this information and this energy, so that we can get to what I call neutrality, which is I can express the story, but I don't have any charge around it inside my body anymore.
Yes. And that's exactly how I've experienced, is this suddenly the clamp has opened, or something that was blocked is no longer. And so I guess that brings me to, what is forgiveness? What is the energy of forgiveness? And I guess in my language, it is the idea that a thing that happened no longer has a grip on me.
Right. Yes.
How do you define it?
And that's been reflected different ways. Mm-hmm. And forgiveness for me, because they do the prisoner, right? You see a lot of the different memes about forgiveness is like, being the prisoner in the jail cell and being the doors open, right? Yes. I kept myself in the jail cell, or I kept myself clamped down, but the door was always open, always.
Yes.
I just kept myself in there, like the elephant, like they use that example, right? Where they don't think that they can leave. So it's just beautiful. So forgiveness for me is this beautiful light and awareness of, I've had the power all along.
Ruby red slippers.
Yep. I've had the power all along. And that's what helped me understand when they say in all these studies, like the Stanford Forgiveness Project does these studies, right? And where they say forgiveness is a choice. And I have people argue with me about that. No, it's not. Just like you hear experts say love is a choice.
Yes.
It's not Hollywood love, but deep down true love, you make that choice every day.
Yes. And
that's the same thing. We are choosing me. I'm choosing me. We're choosing us over someone else. That's what forgiveness is.
That's great naming. I'm struck. I wish I could remember where I first heard this so that I could attribute it. But this idea that what happened to me is not my fault. It is my responsibility.
Thank you. Yes.
It is also my privilege to discover what's next, the ways that I can be of service, the ways that I can pour more love into the world. Yeah, whether that's a one-on-one conversation with somebody in a similar boat, there's nothing more than, I see you. I mean, I really see you.
Yes, there's
You know?
nothing better than being in, like you and I together, going, I get you. I see you. I understand, right? Because even Gabor Mate talks about the two biggest human needs are to be understood and to be seen.
Yes.
And it's like, wow, because somebody can see you, but can they totally understand you? And there's nothing better than being in the midst of people that you don't even know how or why, but you're going, I think you understand.
Yes.
And it's just this automatic kind of energetic thing of, oh, yeah, I do.
I remember the first time I was in a room full of women feeling seen. And I remember describing it. It was such an interesting experience for me because it was the beginning of my healing journey, I'll say, from physical healing, autoimmune disease, all, from the aspects of my story, where I walked into a room and I felt like every woman's eyes were open, was how I described it. And they looked at me, and there was some part of me that was so eager to be seen and also to be let in because I'm a seer. And I looked at them and I could see them too, and they allowed me to see them. And then I realized I was being seen, and then I'm having this conflict of, oh, yay, I'm seen. Shit, I'm being seen. That was one of my first tests that's in my memory anyway, of can I really be at ease with who I am? Can I really, an hour who writing coach and actually just posted, I'd interviewed him on Crazy Beautiful Truth as well. This idea of can we forget to worry what other people think?
Yes.
Which is such a beautiful construct, a beautiful framing.
Yes.
And go in and be seen. So all of these experiences, the resentments, just laying out a path before us that help to invite us into purpose, which is part of what I hear you saying as well.
Yes. And we can also take it and we can go, okay, whatever I'm resentful at with this other person, where am I not doing that for myself? That's that mirror. So it really, it all comes back to us. It really does. And anybody that says that that's too selfish, they're wrong. Because we have to be selfish first. It's not negative. We have to take care of ourselves first. Because how can I love someone else or even give to someone else when I'm so wrought with resentment or anger or frustration, right? That we give ourselves this beautiful gift of loving ourselves, of doing this clearing out, this cleansing of all the intelligences, as you say. I love that. But being able to be seen, I have to be willing to do that. I have to be willing to get through the muck that's built up to be able to be seen. And, that's a vulnerability that we're not taught, but we sure can do it.
It's true. We are not taught. And that's, one of the reasons I'm so grateful for, I guess, coaching as a profession, for your work, for the wise writers and teachers who are out there speaking to these things.
Yes.
It's coming up for me as well. And I wonder if I can find this again. This idea of projection. That's what I was thinking, right? Both. There's what is the word? You might know this because there's projection when I'm in resentment and we're at this place where I'm furious because of that time that somebody told me I was too big for my britches.
Yes.
And then 9 years later, someone comes up to me and, well, don't you think you're fancy? Right? Same chorus, same string gets hit. I now put double the work into that. And they might have been joking. They might have been intent. There would have been no malintent behind it. But I have now projected all of my resentment that I've been holding straight onto this person and made up stories about their intentions. I've made up stories about how they see me. I've made up stories about, well, let me just show you, so then I activate my defenders and all the parts of myself that are going to rally to my protection and make a point, right? But there's also this idea of, and I wish I could remember the term, I wonder if like it's a golden projection or a loving projection, where now you can see good intention. So that people can say something really clumsy. I'm thinking about, when my dad died, I was 19 years old. What did I know, right? And people said clumsy things.
Yes.
And nobody meant anything bad. And some of them kind of were just like, did you think that through before you spat that out? Right?
Right.
But we don't know. We're not taught. We are all clumsy in new circumstances. And so being able to, from this forgiveness place, from this self-acceptance place, project and offer that acceptance to others when they're clumsy as well. Am I reaching too far to the impact of
No,
forgiveness?
no, because when you hold that within yourself, it's an automatic projection. Right? Because if you look at the work of David Hawkins, where he did all of this work with kinesthetic, and he did the scale of consciousness, where he took all the emotions and he said how, where do they lie on this scale, with forgiveness being about 350. Most of us vibrated about 208, right? So when you're doing the work and you're climbing up, right, on the scale of consciousness, you affect, and this is what he found at the time, and I can't remember how old this book was, Power versus Force. And it was, he's a great scientist, and that book is hard.
Okay.
It was hard, but if you listen to some of the YouTubes, you'll get the understanding of the work that he did. You affect 250 people around you. Yeah. So you think of this. I wake up on the wrong side of the bed. I notice everybody around me wakes up on the wrong side of the bed. That's projection, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
That's when the driver in front of me is being irresponsible. The driver behind me is being aggressive.
yes.
Weird. It's got nothing to do with me in the middle.
No, it's everybody else. Or
Yes.
when you're excited and happy, same thing. Right? It's like, wow, everybody's in a great mood today. This is awesome. So when we take that gave me a whole different look on projection.
Yeah.
So when I hold this within me, when I'm holding like awareness and when I'm holding some self-love and some resilience and courage, wouldn't that naturally then kind of reflect outside of me? And if somebody does say, Brenda, you're blue, or you're not being very nice or whatever, I can look at them and go, yeah, I'm sorry, you're having a bad day. I don't take it on personally. Because I've got this space inside me that says, no, honey, that's you.
So good. So good. And then what is becoming more evident to me the more we speak is the idea of this spaciousness inside of myself.
Yes.
That there aren't things tucked in pockets on all the shelves. I'm not hoarding bad feelings. I'm not hoarding resentment. I have this space. And so when something drops in, I'm like, oh, wait, that's not mine. Back to your point. Yes. That's not my blue. So I'm going to sweep that one right out the door. And, oh, wait, that's lovely. I'm going to give that a shiny spot on a shelf. Yeah. We'll keep that one because that's fun,
Yeah.
And so this really ties back full circle to me when we're talking about loving ourselves back to life. And we're talking about, for me, this idea of coming back to life is about connecting to our vitality. What do we do with that spaciousness? Because what if your life is actually your own? What becomes possible?
Mic drop.
Mic drop.
Mic drop.
Tell me about when you feel most alive, because you've had places. I know you've talked about part of your story.
Yeah.
But so the contrast, as we do by the time we're beyond 22, usually, between feeling not connected to our vitality and joy and connected to it. Describe for me a moment when you feel most connected to your life.
So there's a couple different things that come up for me. When I feel friends, for one, like when I have my little sacred group of friends, there's a handful of us that will get together and we'll go for a walk or have dinner or whatever, where we do see each other. That's where I feel connected, right? Is like, feel me. I feel connected to me. And they're reflecting that for me.
Beautiful.
Right? So that's one of them. And when we're having deep conversations, you're like this too. I know, Sheila. Yes. We've had conversations where, that's our jam, is to get into like life and what makes you, like your question, what makes you feel most alive, and what are, how do you love yourself, and these kind of conversations. There's also the moment, just sitting by myself, when I just allow myself to sit and really try not to cling on to any thoughts. Just let them float, where I can feel my heart and I let any emotion that's there rise up. I don't hold on. I just let it go. Whether it's tears, whether it's joy, whether it's grief, I have all of that. When I give myself permission to just sit, because that's the key to me knowing me, I'm connected then.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And that's when I feel, I term connection and aliveness together.
Yes.
That's when I feel like, here I am. Here I am.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's so beautiful. And here you are and doing this work in the world. If someone had told you 25 years ago or 30 years ago, would you have believed it? Would you?
No way. No.
Yeah.
No.
No. Well, your work matters so much. Your writing matters so much. Your podcast matters. Your heart for this work and for us and for humanity, I'm going to go so far as to say, it is evident every time that I've spoken to you, when I listen to you, when I'm, looking back at your content. So you've got books. You've got Forgive Yourself.
Yes.
You've got Journey to Your Heart Space.
Yes.
You've got your blog.
Yep.
You have your podcast.
Yes.
All
Forgive
of which can
Yourself.
be found where?
That can be found on my website, BrendaReissCoaching.com.
So it's REISS.
Yes.
BrendaReissCoaching.com.
Yeah.
There's something that you have on your website about archetypes. Would you talk about that? Yeah. Tell me about that.
Yeah, I love that. So I love my it's an archetype quiz. So it's what kind of, the way I term it is, what kind of a forgiver are you? And so
That's so juicy.
I know.
Love it.
It is. And I really like it. I am, I really like this, and I've gotten great feedback on it because you take the little quiz. It's a simple quiz. And then you get this report on what kind of a archetype are you. And I use the archetypes: lover, giver, guardian, sage. And so the actual archetypes, are part of them. And to kind of see where you're at. And we look at both sides. What is the, kind of the lighter side and the shadow side of this type of archetype? Because nobody's ever, whether you're a sage, people are like, I'm a sage. And it's like, yeah, did you see the other side of sage? Because sages aren't, we're still a work in progress, right?
We all have a shadow.
We all have a shadow. And so it's learning those. And then people have really commented that they really resonated, and it really helped them to make some changes and to really figure out where they're at in this. And so it's a free quiz to take. And it's one of the things that I still love. I know.
That's great. I love that. So I'll invite the listener, if you're sitting here wondering, what's forgiveness got to do with me?
Yeah.
What would you say just to the listener at large? What's forgiveness got to do with me?
Forgiveness has everything to do with you because of the fact that this is how we learn to love ourselves. This is how we learn to trust ourselves. This is how we learn to accept ourselves. This journey of that we claim as forgiveness is really just a journey back to our own heart. That's all it is. Because when we get into this, then we realize it is about me. Yes. And that's okay. My sovereignty is important.
That's where the power is.
That's where the power is.
So good. Brenda, thank you so much. Thank you for your time, your care, your heart for this work, and for us out in the world.
Oh my gosh. And you too, Sheila. I love what you are doing.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
What a conversation that was. So if you are feeling a little cracked open right now, good. Because that is where the light gets in. Brenda reminded us that forgiveness is not about excusing things that happen. It's about releasing what no longer needs to run your life. It's about choosing you over and over again with grace, with truth, and with a whole lot of courage. This is the holy, gritty, gorgeous work of loving ourselves back to life. So take a breath, take a beat, and maybe ask yourself, what am I ready to set down? Where am I ready to stand back up? If this episode spoke to you, share it with someone you love. Let it ripple, let it land. And as always, thank you for being part of this unfolding truth with me.